Hey guys, I'm here to do another Stephen King book review. The book is Misery. Now, I recently bought this last weekend. I've read this before I bought it, so I've read this book twice because I really liked it. The paperback. I'm not sure if this is the same for the hardcover one, but the one that I have is 338 pages, so it's not really long. I believe I watched the movie before I read the book. But the book came out in 1990. The book is about Annie Wilkes. The book starts with Paul Sheldon is, coming out of a daze. We find out that he was in a car accident. He in a big snowstorm. He swerved off of a road and crashed, and Annie Wilkes helped him out of the car and saved him. Paul Sheldon is the #1 best-selling author of the Misery books. Like there's the character is Misery Chastain, and I remember there was one called like Misery's Child and Misery's Request or something like that. And Annie Wilkes is Paul Sheldon's #1 fan, and So, when Annie Wilkes finds out that he's Paul Sheldon, she flips out thinking it's such a good idea and, what a wonderful thing to meet Paul Sheldon, to take care of him. And so Paul Sheldon had a manuscript with him called Fast Cars, and it was his first book that he had written that was not misery related. The latest Misery book, as I believe, I'm not sure if this was in the movie. I'm not really clear if it was in the movie or not. But in the book, the latest Misery book had not been released when Annie found Paul. So Annie gets the book and reads it, page turner every day. Well, Misery Chastain dies in this book, and Annie Wilkes freaks out. She starts going nuts and says that because of this, Paul Sheldon is going to, she's not going to call anyone for help. She's going to make Paul Sheldon stay at her house and write Misery's Return, dedicated to Annie Wilkes. And if he doesn't do that, she will kill him. And so basically the book is about, Paul Sheldon writing Misery's Return and Annie doing, some cruel things to him. And then there's a big climax at the end of the book. And yeah, typical Stephen King. That I really wish he would write more books that had to deal with this kind of a subject. Like there was some person, holding that was like the killer. Not like vampires in Salem's Lot, or like demonic forces in The Shining, or a clown in It. I wish it was like kind of like a mentally unstable person doing it. I wish he would write more stories like that. But Misery, kind of like a page turner. Some parts are kind of slow, but most of it's pretty interesting. It's told in Paul's point of view, and really good book. I really like this book a lot. Not one of my favorites. It's a very terrifying story at some moments. There are not really major differences between the book and the movie. Really, the only two major differences that I can think of. This is a spoiler alert in case you haven't read the book or seen the movie. In the movie, Annie cuts. Well, in the book, I'm not exactly sure why she does it in the book, but cuts off Paul's foot with an axe. As you can see on the book, there's an axe on the cover. Because in the movie, it was because she had found out Paul was sneaking out of his room, and then she takes like a blowtorch and shoots it at his foot to stop the bleeding because she used to be a nurse. But in the movie, she puts a 2x4 between his ankles and breaks his ankles with a sledgehammer. I think cutting the foot off would have been a lot more gory and disturbing, But there's just something about her taking a hammer and breaking his ankles that are just really screwed up. And the second part, which it was going to be in the movie, but they took it out, Annie runs over a cop with a lawnmower. And like blood is shooting out, of the chute of the lawnmower. And I think that would have been kind of too over the top in the movie. Because Kathy Bates, who plays Annie Wilkes, who, terrific actor, does not really go over the top a lot. Like a lot in her anger, but she doesn't really do any act over the top. Not that much. I do love the movie. I think I kind of like the movie better a little bit. I mean, there are some, really good points of Misery that I love. But, yeah. Really good Stephen King. If I had to rate this, I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5. It's short. That's one of the good things about this, is that it's short. A lot of Stephen King's books are ridiculously long. Like I think The Stand is his longest book at like 1,200 pages. This complete and uncut edition. And but Misery is definitely a very different story from Stephen King, and it's a really good book. And then just to give you an update of what I'm reading right now, I'm reading 11/22/63. I started this, when I first bought it. And then I put it down. I was around page, like 200 and something. Because this is another spoiler alert, it was after he had stopped the Harry Dunning thing. And, it was kind of like a transitional period. The book, for me, did not really take off really fast until, like, maybe a chapter or two before part 4, Sadie and the General. And Stephen King is kind of really good at writing, like, about sex and love stories. I think he likes to do that a lot. And he does it really well in this. I am on page 652, and there is over like 850 pages left, or there's over like 200 pages left, so I still have a little ways to go. I'm in part 5, 11/22/63, and I've had a lot of enjoyment reading this. Definitely, I think one of my favorite Stephen King's as of right now. I have heard that the ending of this book wasn't very satisfying. I'm not exactly sure about that, but I want to predict something because I don't know what the ending is. I mean, maybe I might be crazy. I don't think that he actually stops the JFK assassination. I mean, I know that they have this on the back, but the book, I just think that he didn't stop it. And then I really want him to go back into the future with Sadie, and then they can live, in the future. But then again, I guess I wouldn't really mind if he stayed, back in 1963. But, yeah, I want to finish this book. I will feel very accomplished when I finish this, because besides The Stand, this is the longest, Stephen King book I've read. Well, I guess Stand and It. But I haven't really enjoyed a really thick Stephen King book as much as this. But Misery, again, really good book. I like it. If you haven't read Stephen King before, you could probably start out on this and like him. Just some parts are boring, but if you get past the boring parts, he writes really good, gory and sadistic and torturous parts. But Misery is a good Stephen King book, and I like it, and the movie's really good, and this is my 100th video, by the way. And one more thing. My previous video, my room tour, I did that using like a camera, and I did like Windows Movie Maker on my computer. If you want to see more videos kind of like in that format, let me know. I still want to plan on doing more, like maybe I'll do something cool. But, yeah. Leave comments or write me a message or something. But until then, I'll see you guys later.